What's going on? Jake here with Uncommon EDC. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Benchmade Mini Adira, and this one's on loan to me from Zach over at Zach's Stuff by way of the Apex Passaround Group, so definitely go show him some love. Huge shout out to him for introducing this one to the group from his personal collection. I was really interested in checking this one out for a few different reasons. The first and foremost being that it's part of their water collection, which I've never checked out on the channel before. I've handled a couple at shows and stuff like that, but never really gone in depth to, so I was really interested in that. But also because we have Magnacut steel on the blade, and probably most surprising to me was the price point of this knife. You can pick this up right now on Blade HQ for $230, and I'll make sure to leave a link down in the description of the video. Now, I realize that's still a lot of money, but when you start throwing around words like Magnacut, made in Oregon, Benchmade, I start bracing myself for a much higher price tag. In fact, I wouldn't have been surprised if I looked this up and saw it was priced at $320 to $350. So $230 definitely feels like a much better deal. Definitely makes this knife a whole lot more intriguing to me. Now, in terms of the knife itself, we start with these blue Grivory handles. I love the color on here. I know some people aren't going to be a fan of them just because they're Grivory and you're spending this much on a knife, you kind of want better materials, but I've never had an issue with Grivory. Obviously, if I had been burned by it in the past, I might have more of an issue, but I have no issue with it. I think it looks great. It's also a little bit thicker than what you might typically find on a bug out or mini bug out, and so it gives it a lot less flex than you might expect, so definitely feels a little bit sturdier. And I also just like the contouring and shapes of the handle this time around. It does look a little bit more premium again than what you might find on something like the bug out or the tagged out. And so I do like the look of the scales quite a bit. Also love those orange accents. I know this is the first color that came out. I don't know if they've released it in other colors, but I love the combo of this shade of blue with that bright orange anodization, as well as the orange lanyard, which I do believe comes tied off already. I don't think Zach added this. I think that comes with the knife as well as the bead. And so that's great because if you want it, it's there. If you don't, this is very easy to remove. You don't even have to clip it. You just thread it right through there and it's ready to go. And so really nice feature there as well. As far as the size of this knife goes, it's called the Mini Adira, but it's a pretty medium-sized knife at 7.46 inches overall, so just under 7.5 inches. So pretty good size to it. Would be really curious to see it side by side with the full-size Adira. Now, 4.25 inches of that's in the handle, and with 4.25 inch handles, I can pretty much always expect to be able to get all 4 fingers on here. No exception this time, although I was pretty surprised at that sizing to feel a little bit of a tightness in the grip. I'm a little bit constricted, can't really spread my fingers too much, and that's because the design of the interior portion of this handle, you can see that sharp finger groove into this sort of ricasso here that is basically in the place if you had a flipper tab where the flipper tab would be sitting, and I'm not usually a fan of that, so definitely not a fan of this as well. I wish it was kind of dialed back closer to that pivot up here. But also you can see it pinches down towards the butt of the knife as well. And so that forces the 4 fingers in between those 2 pinch points, so you don't really have room to spread out. If this were knocked back, I could easily get up here and have a little bit of room to spread out, or if it was just maybe 1/4 inch longer or so. And so that does make me really interested to see what the Adira feels like in hand. Now, that being said, besides having that tighter, more constricted grip, it's extremely comfortable. There's actually not any hot spots. I just prefer to be able to spread out a little bit, but still extremely comfortable. So the ergos on here are excellent. The only one thing I will note is those interior edges of that Grivory are about 90-degree edges, and so they will catch you. They're not uncomfortable or anything, and you don't feel them when you're gripping down. Even if you grip down super tight, you're not feeling those sharp edges or anything like that. But it is worth noting, if you're kind of sliding your fingers past, you may get caught up on those 90-degree edges. Really love the backspacer on here as well. I think it looks great. It does seem like a bit of an odd choice for a water collection knife. I feel like it's just introducing a place for water to get caught in between that backspacer and those scales. Not sure what that's like in practice, but I feel like barrel standoffs might have made it a little bit more sense, but I do love the look of it. And again, you have that lanyard tied off here. If you need a little bit of extra something to grab onto or just to pull it out of your pocket, it is a really nice touch there, and great that it matches the thumb stud. Now onto our blade, we have a 3.21 inch long drop point style blade. Again, Magnacut on the steel, nice wedge up at the top and a partial flat grind on here, about 3.06 inches in cutting edge, and we have CPM Magnacut there on the back. Nice placement of that thumb stud as well, pretty much out of the cutting path of our edge there, tucked nicely back there. Although it's not sitting right on top, it's still out of our way, which is great. The action on here is also extremely good. I would imagine that's because it's been passed around to 5 or 6 channels at this point, obviously from his personal collection. So there's been a lot of opportunity for this one to break in. Usually when I get a brand new Benchmade, there is a little bit of a break-in period where the action's a little bit stiff, but they usually do get to the smoothness that we're seeing here. And this feels ultra smooth. Plenty of access to that thumb stud. You can see in that closed position, it's nicely kind of surrounded by that finger groove, so you have plenty of access, flicks right open incredibly smoothly. And then we have that access lock action, which is great as well. The other great thing about that access lock and the thumb studs is that this is fully ambidextrous, so we do have that deep carry pocket clip that is reversible to right hand carry. This model comes with the longer style of pocket clip, and those are easily replaceable with tons of different aftermarket options. I know obviously Lynch is a popular one, but there's a ton of aftermarket options for that Benchmade style of clip, which makes it so great if you want to do a little bit of customization to this knife. Overall, I think this is a really cool knife. I'm really interested in seeing the full-size Adira next time I'm at a show, which should just be in a couple of weeks. If I can find one, I may grab onto that and just see what it feels like in hand, because I would imagine this is going to be very comfortable with just a little bit more length. I'm not sure how much longer the full-size Adira is compared to this one. Typically, I would prefer this size knife over a larger knife, but really curious about the hand size on that one. Now, also ultra lightweight because of those Grivory handles, so even though we have a 7.5-inch knife, we're looking at about 3.09 ounces, so nice and lightweight. And again, the Grivory's been pretty durable for me. I know last Benchmade I mentioned it, and a couple people had like anecdotal experiences with it where they were able to crack it in some extreme situations and things like that. But for the type of use I'm using it for, never gonna have any sort of issues with Grivory. But let me know what you think of this knife down in the comments below. As usual, I'll make sure to leave a link to it down in the description if you're interested in picking this one up. And if you enjoyed the video, consider liking, commenting, subscribing, joining the channel as a member, or checking out some of my other videos. All help the channel out a ton, and also go show Zach over at Zach Stuff some love as well for providing this one for us to check out. And I hope you have a great one. Take care.